Welcome again, Resonant friends. Today we're going to answer some of the questions that have been asked through our different social media platforms. Those are related to the companies that are trying to set up manufacturing facilities or services facilities in Mexico. And they have some broad questions. Obviously, this is something that has to be treated always on a case-by-case basis. We're going to try to do our best to explain at least the basics of how this works. One of the questions was, what's the difference between a maquiladora and an IMMEX company? There's no difference. The reality is that maquiladora, it's a Spanish word for manufacturing, and it was used because the name of the permit that was given to a company in Mexico before, it included the name maquiladora, the word maquiladora. So it was a worldwide knowledge to identify those Mexican operating manufacturing facilities as maquiladoras. However, there was changes on the permits, and now they have a permit which is IMMEX, IMMEX, which stands for what you're seeing here, and it's pretty much the same. It's the same permit. There has been a little bit of changes on what is one and what is the other. But at the end of the day, when you hear maquiladora, when you hear IMMEX company, we're talking about the same. We're going to try to explain exactly what is what. Another question is, what is actually an IMMEX company? IMMEX company, it's a standard Mexican organized company owned by either a subsidiary of a company or any company in the world that's going to set up a manufacturing facility or a services facility, because we have two types of IMMEX. One is manufacturing, the other one is services. Depending on the type of industries they're going to be and the activities they're going to be carrying out, is if you need a services or a manufacturing IMMEX or IMMEX. It's just a regular company with a special permit granted by the federal Mexican government to let that company import the machinery, equipment, components, raw materials, and other accessories into Mexico without paying any tariffs, with some exceptions that we're going to explain in another answer, with the purpose of providing a service or a manufacturing process, normally a substantial transformation of the product, to be then returned to the place of origin or to any other place in the world. So basically, it's just a Mexican standard company with a special permit to import everything on a temporary basis without paying tariffs, to perform a service, a manufacturing activity, and then return it to the place of origin or any other client, or even to another IMMEX company in Mexico with the same permit. They can even send it to that other company for an additional process or service. Can a foreign company own more than one maquiladora or IMMEX company? The answer is yes. So a worldwide company or any company in the world can own not just one maquiladora or IMMEX company, can own as many as they need. Sometimes they will own a services maquila or IMMEX company. They will own a manufacturing. Sometimes they will own different ones in different states. Sometimes they will want to separate the type of processes. These companies, sometimes they have divisions where they have different products, so they'll establish companies separately. So yes, there's no limit or restriction as long as they comply with the Mexican laws as to the establishment of an IMMEX company. Can an IMMEX company import machinery, raw material, components, equipment into Mexico without paying any tariff, including the value-added tax? The answer is, the basics is that the IMMEX permit will allow the company to import the equipment, machinery, components, and accessories and raw materials without paying any tariffs. However, some additional programs that can be put together along with the IMMEX can be obtained to actually try to get the zero tariff importation of those things. It could be a sectorial programs, which is what they call. They can call the 8 rule, the regla octava. So sometimes this is on a case-by-case basis. They have to apply for different certifications on top of the IMMEX. You need to be first certified with an IMMEX permit, and then you can start adding these additional available programs to your permit, so you can ensure that you're going to be paying zero tariffs at the entry and importation of those products. Now, as far as the value-added tax, There's an additional certification that applies with certain rules and certain requirements, and it takes a little bit more time. So you cannot do it simultaneously. You can do the IMMEX and the other potential programs more, very close to be simultaneous, but the other one you need to wait. But once you have also the value-added tax certification, you can import everything without paying any tariffs and without the obligation to pay the value-added tax at the importation. While you get the IVA certification, the value-added tax certification, you can pay it and then claim it back as a reimbursement. It's going to affect the cash flow of the company in the meantime while you get the other certification. But to answer the question is, once you have all the programs, you're pretty much going to be on the safe side of not paying any tariffs or value-added tax. But again, very important, this is just a broad answer. Cannot be considered as a legal consultation. It's just to give you an idea. Everything has to be treated on a case-by-case basis, and there's a lot of requirements that have to be complied with in order to obtain these programs. Can one IMMEX company serve different clients? Yes. The answer is yes. As long as you notify, first of all, you need to have your first customers. You cannot establish an IMMEX company without having a counterpart outside of Mexico. Once you have your first customer or your first couple of customers, then as long as you have that and you can prove that relationship, that contractual and commercial relationship with those clients, you can serve from one IMMEX manufacturing facility. You can serve different customers in different parts of the world for different matters. It could be services, manufacturing, any other activity that is permitted within the restrictions of the permit. But the answer is yes, one IMMEX can serve different customers. Can the companies served by the IMMEX be different nationality? Yes. So the IMMEX company can serve companies in different parts of the world. Can serve the United States. It can serve a country in Europe, Spain, Italy, France. There's no limit. There's no restriction. Obviously, when it comes with relationship with the U.S., you can also see the benefits, and this is a separate discussion as to what the benefits that can be obtained by applying the USMCA agreement between these two companies. But with Europe, Mexico also has other treaties. Actually, I think Mexico, I can be corrected by my editor by putting here, but I think Mexico is one of the countries that has the most international treaties with different countries. So from the IMMEX standpoint, it can serve any country in the world, any company, but also to take advantage of the treaties, we need to consult on a case-by-case basis which countries have a certain treaty and what that treaty allows commercially between Mexico and that specific country. Is there any tax advantage by having the related party to the IMMEX company being in the U.S.? Not necessarily. It all depends on what each company is trying to do. If the end goal of the IMMEX setup is to serve the United States and it makes sense to have something in the United States and it makes sense tax-wise to hold your inventory or something like that, it might be beneficial to have a U.S. base on a specific state subsidiary related to the IMMEX company to serve the United States. But if that is not the case, there's a misperception that in order to have an IMMEX company, you need to have a company in the United States. That's not true. You can have one if it's going to be beneficial to the whole structure, the whole project. But if you don't need it, there's a lot of IMMEX companies in Mexico that are owned directly by companies in other places in the world, and they're doing business directly without having to go through the United States. So there is no need, but if it's beneficial, it all depends. We need to analyze this on a case-by-case basis. Can products manufactured in Mexico be marked made in Mexico, or if they're made in the United States, can be marked made in the USA? These all have to be with the rules of origin. This is a more complex question, and it has to be analyzed as to what is the process that is going to be carried out in Mexico, because you can be importing certain raw materials from different parts of the world, but depending on the product, if it suffers a substantial transformation and some of the materials are sourced locally, you can achieve making that product be marked as made in Mexico. Yes, you can, but it all depends on where are the raw materials coming from, what's the 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 values on the raw materials that are being brought from outside, the value of the materials that are going to be sourced in Mexico, the labor that is going to be applied to it, the specific rules that apply to specific products. So this is a really complex question that cannot be answered in an answer of 2 minutes. So it all depends. Everything can be achieved. You can have a product that with the enough transformation and source of products locally can be considered either a Mexican product, can be considered a USMCA product for the benefits of doing business with the United States and Canada, or it's just going to be a product of the origin, country of origin where the raw materials came from if the transformation was not substantial. So depending on what the investing company is trying to achieve, is the analysis that had to be conducted in order for the expert, where we can do the proper analysis and give you the opinion as to these are the options that you can have. If you want it to be marked that's made in Mexico, this is what you need to do. If you want it to be marked just UMCA applicable, acceptable, these are the things that you need to do. Or if you don't mind, it can be marked from the place of origin, then that's a discussion need to be held and analysis that need to be conducted. And like I said, it's no even close to be answered in a couple of minutes. But we will be more than happy to assist you. This is just to give you an idea of more or less how things work. But once you engage with us or any other expert, they're going to be able to explain and give you details of how everything can work. And it all depends on the type of products and activities you're trying to conduct, either in Mexico, the United States, or any other place in the world. Just can a Mexican entity can be operating as a Mexican entity and also as an IMMEX company? The answer is also going to be really broad. Is yes, but you'll have to sacrifice some tax benefits. So companies that are only doing IMMEX activities can be is not mandatory, but they can be subject to specific taxation, way of being taxed. And if you do both, then you can lose that benefit. So it all comes down to what are the benefits that the investing company are trying to pursue, and if it doing business in Mexico as a regular company and also as an IMMEX is worth losing that tax advantage or that tax treatment. The answer is yes. So again, this is going to be not like a standard recipe for every company, for every investment. It all depends on what is trying to be done in Mexico. As a general conclusion of these questions and answers, we can tell you that the whole thing about setting up something in Mexico it's not that it's complex, but it does have some requirements. You need to comply with different requirements, different rules and specifications, and it all depends on what the company is trying to do in Mexico. If it's services, if it's manufacturing, if you're going to just be a supplier to another IMMEX company, what markets are you trying to penetrate? Are you trying to penetrate only the U.S.? Are you trying to penetrate Central South America, Europe too? So it all depends on the overall project of the company, where we can give you a more educated opinion as to these are the things that we could recommend for that project to be working properly, depending on what are the needs. And obviously, we need to explain and get a lot more information from the company to give you like more specific guidelines as to what we can do or cannot be done. Obviously, the good thing about when you're trying to set up a shop manufacturing company in Mexico is that Mexico has been doing this for many, many years. So they're really knowledgeable, qualified, people understand this, authorities understand this. We're used to, when I say we as a law firm and we as Mexican citizens too, we understand this because it's an environment that we've lived with since many years ago. So we breathe this, we understand this, and there's no country, I think, that has not invested in Mexico. So we know all countries that haven't invested, most of them come here, so we know how to communicate with them. And Mexico has come up and upgraded their programs to make this as easy as they can. But obviously, that doesn't mean that it's going to be an overnight type of thing. You need to comply with certain requirements. You need to comply with the legal standards, the legal rules to make this happen. And that's why you have experts such as our law firm and any other law firms. They can help you and assist you from the beginning. And when I say from the beginning, is that we always recommend companies to get and consult with an expert before you even engage in trying to do something with the project, because we can give you heads up in many, many things before you actually make an investment, even from where you should be making the investment, location, benefits, quality of qualified trained people in Mexico, depending on the industries, whether we like it or not. Certain industries have established in certain parts of Mexico, so it's important to understand all of this. So the best recommendation is that you reach out to an expert. We will be more than happy to assist you. You can see our information here. You have more questions, more detailed questions. We'll be more than happy to assist you in your future product. Thank you.